Hello everybody, this is OpenWorldAddict for my first Civ 5 tutorial. This tutorial, just to let you know, is for people who are not just new to Civ 5, but new to new to Civilization entirely, or any 4X game, or they haven't played Civilization, a Civilization game like since Civilization 2 or 3, or even all the way back to Civilization 1, the first Civilization. If you're one of those people, this is perfect for you. The reason, I know there's a lot of tutorials out there, and it's been a long time since this game came out, but all the tutorials that are out there, I feel, does the game a disservice, because it really doesn't help people, in my point of view, get into the game. You learn a little bit, you learn a lot from them, but it's not that good. And the reason why is set up. This tutorial is not going to be anything but setup. So this is the first tutorial. It's all about setup. So the first things I want to talk about setup is the map size and how many players you have on that. A long time ago, in a strategy guide for another 4X game, I read that smaller is not better. Having a small, tiny, or dual game does not make the game easier. And the reason why is because there is less space. And space is very important. You need room to grow, to expand, to build new cities. You want to have enough room so you got a good sized empire by the time you meet any real opposition or any threats to your empire. And that's important because it gives the new player time to get a handle on the mechanics of the game instead of just worrying about his neighbors. And on top of that, you won't ever feel pinched in. Like, okay, there's a neighbor on your right, there's a neighbor on your left, there's a city-state in front of you, city-state back of you. You have very little room to grow. You have nowhere to build new cities. A new player never wants to feel like that. They always want to feel they can grow and expand to develop before they have to deal with other civilizations. For that reason, huge is better. Larger is better. Not huge and say the best, but larger is better. Huge is pretty good. But there's another thing. You see here it says 24 players with 12 players with 24 city-states. Well, more players is not more civilizations is not better, because again, the more civilizations you have, the more packed in you will be, the less space you will have to grow, and you definitely will feel many times pinched in. You can change that by going here and deleting some of these extra civilizations. Now, many tutorials, people who do tutorials, they recommend not touching the advanced button, but I wholeheartedly disagree. These settings, some of them, you won't really know what they do. I'll show you what's important. The whole idea is to set up your game so that you have a chance to succeed in the first half of the game, the first 100 turns. So the more players, the better. And the more players, the harder you go. I recommend limiting the civilizations to, at first, half of what's default. So for a huge world, just 6. That'll give you plenty of room to grow and expand. You can leave the city-states thing alone. If you don't understand what that means, then, well, you'll learn it in time. Let's go back here. The second thing I want to talk about is difficulty level. The more difficult is difficult. And so for new players, you don't want to be starting on Prince. Yes, it is a normal difficulty, but even normal difficulty for very new players is difficult. On Prince, everything is leveled out. You do not get any advantages, but neither do the enemies. On King and above, all your opponents get advantages, and they will have a head start. On Warlord or above, you will get advantages, giving you a head start. Well, not as much of a head start as your opponents would in the harder difficulties, but it will make managing your empire, which is what you're trying to learn when you're first starting, easier. But that is not all. Difficulty level also determines how aggressive your opponents are. On Warlord and above, there is a great chance that your neighbors will attack you unprovoked. An unprovoked attack means that they attack without warning, without clear reason to why they're attacking. They just want your land and they're attacking. On Chieftain, that goes down to 70%. Warlord above, it's 100%. It goes down to 70%. And so there is a slight chance they may attack without warning, unprovoked. Instead of that goes down to 0, which means that they will not attack you unprovoked, without warning. Now, that doesn't mean they won't attack you at all. That doesn't mean they won't declare war on you. Because even on cellular, you can do things. Actions you take can make them angry, and if they get angry enough, they will go to war. But also inactions. I will talk about this later in a future tutorial, but the diplomacy thing is kind of complex. And so just know that when you're first starting out, you don't have a good handle on diplomacy. Pick cellular. The other thing that I want to talk about, difficulty, is the difficulty also affects how difficult barbarians are. The higher the difficulty, the more frequently barbarian camps and units will spawn, which means the barbarians are more difficult. But that isn't the only thing. On Settler and Chieftain, in the beginning of the game, barbarians will not enter your territory. And for new players, that is so useful. So important. Not useful, it's important. Because it is hard enough with barbarians stealing workers and settlers and stuff. But then to have to enter your territory and destroy your improvements, and it can make you feel overwhelmed if you don't have a good handle of things. On Chieftain, you have 60 turns until the barbarians can enter your territory. That gives you a lot of time to plan, prepare, get a grip on your economy, empire management, things like that, before you have barbarian entering your lands. However, on settlers, barbarians won't enter your lands until turn 1000. And that means is that on a standard paced game, which is what is recommended for all new players, a standard paced game, by the time the game will have been completed, someone will have won by turn 1000. That means turn 1000 will never occur. On an epic or marathon, or epic, turn 1000 might come about, might not. Definitely on marathon you will see turn 1000. So on cellular, you never have to worry about barbarians entering your lands. You still need to protect your settlers and your your workers. I was drawing a blank there. Once they leave your territory. But inside your territory, you don't have to worry about anything. That's why I recommend seller to you for your first few games. As a matter of fact, to make it even less worrisome, worry-free, matter of fact, I recommend for your first few games hitting this button, No Barbarians. That means you will not have to worry about barbarians at all. Now, true barbarians give you some benefit. They help your units level up and get promotions. But if you're not planning to war at all and you're careful about diplomacy and making sure that you stay friendly with all the other civilizations the entire game, you will never have to worry about leveling your units up and getting promotions. And certain structures will give your units a boost to XP, which means a free promotion most of the time. So, but if you're not going to war, you don't have to worry. So, no barbarians for your first few games. Takes all the worry as far as barbarians are concerned. Now I just want to cover map type a little bit. For a beginner, Pangea, which is something that everyone is recommending, that will put all the other civs in contact reach of you. That could be good or bad. If you being a little isolated isn't so bad because you can have time to grow and expand. That's why I may choose archipelago, continents, fractal, and some other maps. Pangea is not bad, just letting you know. I prefer continents though. That you have the best of both worlds. You have some contact with other civilizations and city-states, but at the same time you won't be surrounded. So, the last thing I want to talk about is the pick of your civilization and your overall strategy. My recommendation is to decide on a strategy at the beginning of the game in the starting menu, in the setup menu. Because each civilization has things that could benefit one style, one path or another. And for a person just starting the game, you're gonna want that extra little boost. Now it's true that most civilizations can take on most victory types, but some civilizations have a harder time at certain victory conditions, and other times other civilizations have easier. So I recommend that you pick the type of victory condition you want to go for, and then pick a civilization that, lends itself to that victory type, victory condition. Now, you could always change later on in the game, but having a good start is when you're first beginning is always important. Also, certain victory conditions are harder than others. The easiest victory condition to go for is science, because there is a little to do, but not a lot. But most of it is straightforward, and you can push through to victory pretty easily. Cultural is more complicated, and so it takes more thought and preparation to achieve victory. And then the third hardest is diplomatic victory. That takes it requires a lot of planning, a lot of action. I mean, you gotta keep on top of everything. I'll explain it more later. You may be even involved in a few wars, because your efforts to, even on settler, your efforts to win diplomatically may anger a few people. So, and then of course, there's the domination victory, and that might be the easiest victory condition if it were not for how complicated the combat system is. And I am not going to do a combat tutorial in this game. I'm not good at the combat. I struggle at it sometimes, especially when fighting other civs. And so you're going to have to look elsewhere for a tutorial to combat. But to me, domination is one of the hardest victory conditions. I recommend it. Science, if you're familiar with the game and want a little challenge, then culture, and then go diplomatic. And once you got a good handle of things, and then if you can grasp the combat in this game really well, then domination. So I think I've spoken long enough. That is all my advice for setup. I know it was a long one. These all will be kind of long. If there's anything you want to know, please leave it in the comments below. And if you like this, please hit the thumbs up button. And the next tutorial in Civ 5, I will be an actual game, showing you a few things when you start out, and maybe covering some of the more complicated topics. But for now, that is all. Have a good day, everyone. OpenWorldAddict out.